Look at this car. Really look at it. This is the 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air. There's something almost painful about how beautiful it is. The way those chrome fins sweep back, catching the light, they serve absolutely zero aerodynamic purpose. They exist purely to make you feel something the second you see the car rolling down the street. Or take the 1961 Jaguar E-Type. Enzo Ferrari, a man famously reluctant to praise his rivals, called it the most beautiful car ever made. It has long, flowing curves that seem to belong to a living creature. And then there's the 1970 Dodge Challenger. Wide, low, and planted to the ground, it projects an unmistakable aggression. The designers of this era treated transportation as a physical argument. They created objects with a distinct point of view that invited you to form a genuine, lasting relationship with the machine. This philosophy extended far beyond the road. Look at the Chrysler Building, completed in 1930. William Van Allen crowned it with a stainless steel tiara. Those eagle gargoyles jutting from the 61st floor offer no structural support. They were built because the people walking the streets of Manhattan deserved a skyline worth looking up at. Even mass-produced household items followed this rule. Mid-century designers like Charles and Ray Eames approached a simple lounge chair as a sculptural puzzle. They figured out how to manufacture a seat at scale that still belonged in a museum. Now look at what we drive today. Modern cars are undeniably safer, faster, and smarter. But if you can identify a Honda from a Toyota from 30 feet away without checking the badge, you have incredibly sharp eyes. In our relentless push to make our machines and buildings work perfectly, we quietly traded away the unquantifiable value of aesthetics. We traded beauty for efficiency. The shift started as global manufacturing expanded. The pressure to compete globally meant stripping every possible cent of unnecessary cost from the assembly line. The flourish, the ornament, the emotionally resonant details, those were the first items cut. You simply cannot justify a decorative chrome fin on a quarterly balance sheet. In architecture, this financial pressure found an ideological partner in modernism. In 1910, the architect Adolf Loos famously declared that ornament was a crime. The future, he argued, belonged entirely to pure, unadorned function. The industry eagerly complied. Carved stone facades and detailed cornices were wiped out by sheer, flat towers of glass. Buildings stopped acting as monuments to societal pride. They became cost-effective envelopes, optimized entirely to maximize leasable square footage and profit margins. Then, the era of data moved in. Design decisions that once relied on human intuition were quietly handed over to software. Suddenly, you could precisely measure which product shape performed best in focus groups, or which interface color converted the highest number of clicks. Everything could be mathematically optimized. This chart shows 5 distinct modern vehicle silhouettes, gradually merging into a single, identical teardrop shape. When every competing manufacturer uses the exact same computational filters to relentlessly optimize for fuel efficiency and drag coefficients, they all inevitably arrive at the exact same aerodynamic geometry. There were a few late-century holdouts where extreme engineering managed to agree with aesthetics. The 1996 McLaren F1 had a strict physical justification for every single surface, but it remained visually breathtaking. But mostly, the math won. Society didn't intentionally destroy beauty. We simply subjected it to a million tiny budget cuts and wind tunnel tests until we optimized it out of existence. The efficiency revolution did exactly what it promised. It made things cheaper, faster, and safer. But it also made our physical world deeply, thoroughly generic. Psychologists study this through a field called environmental psychology, and the clinical data is clear. Our surroundings dictate our mood and behavior. Hospital patients actively recover faster in rooms with natural light. Office workers generate better ideas in varied, interesting architecture. Compare that biological need to the spaces we actually build. We surround ourselves with sprawling, flat strip malls and apartment blocks that look like giant filing cabinets stood on end. We tell ourselves that what a building looks like is a superficial concern, but the evidence proves that a beautiful environment is critical infrastructure for human mental health. People are starting to notice the deficit. In quiet corners of the market, consumers are willingly paying a premium for objects made with obvious care, choosing the friction of a vinyl record or handmade ceramics over pure, frictionless convenience. Some legacy brands never caved. The Porsche 911 has maintained the exact same basic silhouette since 1963. They refused to let an algorithm erase a shape that already worked perfectly. Look at the Leica camera. Buyers are paying for the cold, texture weight of the metal and the relationship it builds with the history of photojournalism. Even the largest tech companies operate on this logic. Apple became the most valuable company on Earth, partly by recognizing that the tactile feel of aluminum and the precise click of a trackpad matter as much as the processor speed inside. Efficiency and aesthetics do not have to be enemies. They can be partners. But if we want to live in a world that actually feels worth looking at, we have to stop accepting the ugliest, cheapest option. We have to start asking for beauty again.